This is the Nebraska Greats, a weekly podcast as a service to the Nebraska Greats Foundation, which serves former collegiate athletes facing medical needs and financial challenges. Your tax-deductible contribution will change the life of a former college sports hero. Please give online at negreats.org. And now, here's your host, Corey Mckeon.
Welcome, Nebraska Greats Foundation podcast. This is the third best host of the group, Corey Mckeon. I have to say that because Jim Rose made me. And we have a very big celebrity guest, big in the terms of his Husker career, big in his NFL career, and big as how long he can drive the ball off the tee. Mr. Matt Slauson. Mr. Matt, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Corey. Appreciate you having me on. It's always an honor to talk to you. I feel like we make it a point to talk every other day, whether it's on the course, on the phone, enjoying a couple beverages after the golf. But I always enjoy our time.
Thanks for just saying a couple for our younger listeners out there. And it was really difficult for me to say how long you had drive the ball. It hurt my ego a little bit. It's okay. I'm feeling better already. One of our Firethorn legends now. I mean, we just got done with a big golf tournament, the Quest out there. You dominated. How did you feel about your first Quest experience out there at Firethorn?
Oh, I had an absolute blast, and I appreciate you pumping me up. The term dominated is being used very loosely here. I will say I was very, very pleased with my play on the first day. Second and third day got a little sideways, but either way, it was an absolute blast. Loved it. I'm going to make a huge effort to play in that event every single year.
Well, and the reason I bring it up is we started a pretty interesting and dynamic conversation with some of our brothers out there, just talking about your O-line days when playing. And I made a pretty bold statement. And I said in 2006, granted, if Chris Patrick comes back and doesn't leave the team, I still think that's one of the most dominant O-lines that we've ever had in Nebraska. And before anybody from the 90s jumps into my inbox and is DMing me cuss words, let me preface this conversation, Slots. So we were talking about going down the line in terms of that roster, not just ended up being good, but who would have contributed that year. And for the people listening that don't remember, this is a hell of an O-line. We've got you, Matt Slauson, and you were left tackle at the time, if I remember correctly, right? That's before you ever moved interior.
I was right tackle.
Carl Nix was left.
Carl Nix had just came in. He was at left. We had Kurt Mann starting at center. He ended up getting sick in the middle of the year, so Brett Byford took over for the second half of the year. But either way, both of those two at center were studs. And at guards, I think Greg Austin was at left in 06, and
that's right.
Andy Christensen, I think, was at right.
And you've got Mike Huff rotating in.
Yep.
He was a solid player. He had Lyden Murtha on that roster, who was rotating in here and there. And I mean, if you look at Mann, Keith Mann coming off the year before was I think either honorable mention or second team All Big 12. So he had a pretty successful year the year before. And if he doesn't get sick, you're talking about, that's not even including the younger guys on the roster at the time that ended up getting more PT once you big boys left. But I'm just still, you look at our national championship teams, and we just had a lot of talent. We had a lot of good players. But if you look at the overall, just success in college and then success in the pros, this low line has got to be up there, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to play a decade in the NFL. Lyden Murtha played 4 or 5 years, and he was a drafted offensive lineman. Carl Nix, unfortunately, his pro career was cut short due to an infection after an operation he had. But he was, during his time, he was the most dominant guard in the NFL. And ended up getting rewarded as such, being the highest paid guard in the history of the league. And unfortunately, he only played another year or two after that. But, he was an incredible player. So, getting back to your main point here, comparing offensive lines throughout the decades, I think it's tough because, back in the 90s, the way the offense was structured was completely different. The game plans, a completely different style of football. When Callahan came in, he wanted to redo everything, take us to a pro style offense. So he needed his offensive linemen huge to protect and also huge to move bodies out of the way. Whereas, back in the 90s, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from those guys. Those guys were absolute savages. But the offensive line back then, they were a bunch of Rottweilers. I mean, they were just running all over the place, biting at ankles, tearing out kneecaps, Achilles. I mean, they were just savages. So completely different style of ball. In 06, we had a lot of fun. We were able to move a lot of people out of the way, a lot of really good players.
I threw Chris Patrick's name out there, and that's not a name that gets brought up a lot. He came in my recruiting class in 2003 as a D lineman, and they moved him to the O lineman side of the ball to give you guys some more depth. Ended up being pretty good. You go back and you watch that crazy game in the Alamo Bowl in 2005. He comes in, has a great game. He had a great tail end of that season, and he exited the team. But even he had some more success in the NFL as well. I mean, he had some few years there.
Yeah, so he played four years. He kept getting put on practice squad, but then somebody would get hurt, and he would up playing and contributing and doing well. And to his good fortune, he was playing for a great organization, the Green Bay Packers. So they were going to playoffs.
Wish I could agree with you on that statement, but keep going, Sloss.
Hey, man, I don't know if you can see my video here, but I got my Bears.
You got the Bears helmet. I love it.
That's the Ed Block Award. I was fortunate enough to win while I was there. So I'm also a great big Bears fan, but I also have tremendous respect for the Packers too. I think how their organization operates is awesome. I wish they would pull their heads out of their rear ends about this Aaron Rodgers issue, but whatever. That's another topic, another day.
If I ever turn down that amount of money in a contract, Slauson, you just take a forearm right to my head because I probably deserve it. Okay.
Yeah.
But, when we were having this conversation back at Firethorn, I had to bring up some other interesting points, like you said, talking about the difference of game plan, being more than two-dimensional. You got to be able to pass block, you got to pull, you got to do a lot of different stuff in, a pro-style offense. But the other thing that I brought up is the tight end help. Because you look back at those 2 tight end sets, sometimes 3 tight end sets, back in the 90s when we were really crushing the ball down people's throats. And you got help on those outside with those big boys. And then you transition.
They were essentially tackles back then.
Exactly. And then, but you transition to like the Matt Hurian type players of the world where your receiving tight ends you don't get that same kind of help on the line. The chips are barely a chip. Trying to get those defensive ends some help. They're just high-fiving that D end on the way to try and go catch a touchdown, leaving you to do all the work.
Right.
It's a different dynamic of game.
I remember our offensive line coach telling us back in college, he said, look, so we're calling these chips and bangs and thumps and all that. But if you get beat because you're expecting a big old chip, I'm going to be really mad at you. Because don't expect to be getting a real chip. All right. You just block him straight up. All right. I was like, all right.
That makes sense to me. And, I like in the NFL now, they're giving the big guys some chances to catch some touchdowns. They're giving D linemen chances to catch the touchdowns. They're trying to get those guys some more love. saying, hey, normally Gronk, we'd go to you on this, but we're going to put our backup left tackle out there and he's going to catch a touchdown. I love seeing that stuff in the pros now. We need to see it more. And I know you're going to agree with me.
Oh, absolutely. I was always jealous. I was fortunate enough to take over the starting role early in my NFL career, but I was always so jealous when the backup tackle would come in and play jumbo tight end on the goal line. They just slip him out really quick for a little pop pass. I'm like, gosh, can you move me out there? I mean, I'm athletic enough to start in the NFL. All right. So I feel like I can catch a ball.
That's
but
what they all say.
But at the same time, I had so much tape and braces and stuff all over my hands and wrists. I feel like I'd be trying to catch a ball holding 2 bricks. So maybe it wouldn't have been great.
Well, that's what our defensive coaches, our linebacker coach, our D coordinators, our secondary coaches used to say, because, you see that on the film from like an Iowa State, from any team that you play, that they slip a lineman out there to catch a ball. They always said, hey, take a look at their gloves. Did they switch their gloves? Are they wearing receiving gloves? You think I've got enough damn time to check every O-lineman's gloves every time he comes out onto the field? If a guy wearing number 76 is going to catch a touchdown, he's earned it,
It's interesting you say that, because so many coaches I had, throughout the years would talk about, balanced stance and not cheating a stance based on what direction you're going to pull or if you're going to pin, to not give anything away in your stance. I'm like, coach, are you kidding me here? These are defensive players. They ain't that bright. All right. They ain't going to see if my right foot is pointed out another degree, or, my stagger, instead of a 4-inch stagger, I have a 2-inch. Like, they aren't going to see any of that. Are you kidding me? So it's interesting you say your coaches on your side were telling you to look for all those little minute things.
If you didn't see it on the film during the week, you weren't going to see it on the game field. Just how it worked. And if you can identify it early, it's something to watch for, but you're thinking of 10,000 other things. So when you got an O lineman that's really showing something like that, it's rare, especially if they're a good player like you were. You can't really identify that play to play. It's tough. Yeah. If you can, you're the Barrett Roods of the world that play in the league for 9-10 years. So
yeah, defensive player of the year, what, three times, 2 times, 3 times?
Stud.
I don't know. Whatever it was a lot, and he was incredible.
So you played a lot of games in the Husker uniform. What sticks out as your favorite game, your favorite experience, your favorite win from all those years?
Oh my goodness. I had so many of them. My first start, true freshman year at Nebraska, 2005. After we get throttled by Kansas down in Lawrence, then I take over the starting job. Not because I was better than the guy, because unfortunately the guy ahead of me, he got hurt, and he was going to be done for the year. So I took over the deal. Kansas State was coming into town, and we rushed for, I don't know how many yards. It felt like 1,000 yards, but I'm sure it was like 200, 220 or so. So that was a very important win for me in my first start. And then, the same year, you already brought it up, the Alamo Bowl win over Michigan. That was huge, exciting game, real nail biter at the end there. But that one was big. And then, of course, beating Colorado at home with Alex Henry's massive, whatever it was, 56-yard field goal.
Yes.
I think that was 07, I believe.
Yep. That was 08.
08.
Because that's right. That was just a massive. I remember coming back for that game. That was just a nail biter right to the end of that and the Alamo Bowl. Thank you, Zach Bowman. I thank him every time I see him for running down that ball at the end of the Alamo Bowl. Every time I see him, I thank him. I think I have it like as a reminder in my calendar on my iPhone here. It's Zach Bowman Day. Text him. You mentioned the Colorado. I'll never forget you wearing Colorado buffalo looking coat.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And with your size, I thought there was an actual buffalo in the locker room. I was frightened for a second there. But Slauson Daddy, where did you get this coat? And I mean, did you kill an actual buffalo and shave it right off their back?
Well, on that night, I killed a whole bunch of buffaloes in the game. But no, I had a good buddy, and their dad was a taxidermist. So he had actually shot a buffalo, and he made that jacket, and he made a hat, and he wanted me to wear it for the Colorado game as like a good omen. And then he also years ago somebody had a grizzly bear that they wanted taxidermied, and then they ended up not picking it up or something, whatever. So he ended up making a necklace out of the claws. So I was wearing the claws around my neck, and then the buffalo hide coat, and the buffalo head hat, just looking like a complete idiot. But it was fun.
Well, that whole week, I think back on it, you coming in the locker room wearing that. We had the Restore the Order shirts made. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we wore these shirts saying, Colorado, they're just not in our category. And they'd creeped up thinking that they can compete with us in years past, and we had had enough of it. So we had these shirts made called Restore the Order. We wore them under our pads. And then, traditionally, we see a lot of more healthy meals leading up to game time. Coach Callahan and the staff, they put buffalo wings down on the buffet, and it looked like 53 hyenas jumping on those things and tearing them apart on our team, just destroying buffalo wings the night before the game. I can't remember how many toilets were in that Colorado locker room, but I felt bad for them. That's damn sure. Yeah, that was good. That game, we came out. Remember, they tried to start the fight before the game, and then at the end of the game, I mean, it was just wild from week start to weekend. They met us at midfield and were trying to start a fight, and then they stopped the game and kicked the entire student section out of the game for chucking beers at us.
Yeah, I mean, we were dominating them so bad they just started throwing all their trash on the field. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was awesome.
When you talk football and you talk ups and downs, wins and losses, and people don't really understand how much of a mentality you have to have going into a game to beat them, whether they're a better team than you, a worse team than you, because we had certainly lost to teams that weren't as talented as us or as good as us. And that game, I felt like if we had that kind of build up before any game, we would have been untouchable, because we had everyone was locked in. Everyone from start to finish that week wanted to win. They did everything from scout team to special teams to the starters putting into extra gear. And then you go on the road, hostile environment, and you play so well, you play so hard that you get their student section kicked out. That's how I would like to finish every game of my career. It's hard when a lot of schools like Kansas State and Iowa State, they don't even have a student section. Oops.
All right.
I'll get a DM on that one.
No, college football is something else, man. The atmosphere, the passion of the fans, something you don't get in the NFL for the most part. There are teams that do have college-like atmospheres when you're talking about a Kansas City or Green Bay. But still, nothing compares to an atmosphere like Nebraska fans. And when you're going over to Boulder to play, and you see the majority of the stadium is red, I mean, that is an incredible feeling, and it is louder for the home team than it is for the away team. That is incredible.
It's always impressive, and as someone, and you and I being knowledgeable of Nebraska's program, but not being a part of it growing up, like a lot of the kids we play with, coming in and seeing it firsthand, it's really quite breathtaking. And, I want to get back to it. We had a weird year with COVID. We've got a brand new schedule. We got guys that can come back, even though they spent their time at the university. They have an opportunity to come back. We saw a lot of guys decide to do that. And that's just a testament to how great our program, our tradition, and truly the fans are. And man, I'm hoping COVID coming out of it, with everything going on in college football this year, with the changes with the NIL, and the NCAA that we're still going to fill that stadium. We're still going to fill our competitors' stadium, and we're going to win some damn games this year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We need it. The fans need it. And we got some excitement now this week, I guess last week of, hiring a new AD. I think that sparks excitement, sparks optimism. And hopefully we think, we can get this thing turned around pretty quick.
That's right. And Trev Albers, what a perfect fit. Outside of completely shutting down UNO's football program, just a tremendous success. We're gonna leave that off the resume. Besides that, he's got the tradition. He understands the people of Nebraska. He understands the tradition of this program, and just continue with Coach Frost to move this thing forward. And I'm thinking, 7, 8 wins, no problem. And then real close games on the others next season. What are you thinking for your prediction, Sloss?
Well, I'm a guy of the trenches here, so it's all going to come down to the O-line and the D line. The O-line, can they move the line of scrimmage forward? Can they move men out of the way? And the D line, can they stop the line from being moved? So I'm not going to get into predictions and all that until I see, the first couple games. What are these lines doing? Are they moving guys, and are they stopping guys?
That's true. And, we might have to have that guy, Mark Slauson, that just looks just like you. Maybe have to put the pads on. We got to check the eligibility sheets, maybe get you down in there, either playing or coaching. I'll take either. But, I think I feel
like I have a little eligibility left somewhere.
I don't think I could do it. I think I'd get out there thinking, okay, I worked out for 2 days. Maybe I could do this, and then just get run over by someone like you and just go, okay, hospital time. How fast can the stretcher get out here? Do we even have stretchers? Get the gator out here.
Oh my gosh. I would just now knowing what I know about the game and the structure of defenses and how defenses have to play based on, offensive sets and all that. If I just had my senior year back again, and I feel like my senior year was a really good year for me. That was Pelini's first year taking over as the head coach. And, we had a successful year. We beat Clemson in the Gator Bowl. I felt like it was a really good year. But if I could have that year back again, hopefully with the same body that I had in 2008, but with my 2021 mind behind it, man, I feel like it could be something else. It could be something else.
It'd be unstoppable. I mean, Nebraska Greats Foundation, for this podcast, they're a group, an organization that helps guys, like us, who get out of the sport, play to the university, get banged up down the road, and need some assistance paying for that. I mean, you've had injuries over the years, both in college and in the pros. And now you're out there, you're hitting the golf course, you're translating all that football mentality into golf. How does that stack up? Do you keep the competitive juices going on the golf course? Are you in a bowling league, some sand volleyball? What are you doing to keep those juices flowing? Besides taking my money on the golf course.
well, competition wise, everything I do in life, I try to compete. I try to win, whether it's working out. If I'm jumping on the exercise bike, I'm trying to, beat my wife's numbers, or, trying to beat, it's that Peloton deal, so you can see what everybody else does. So I'm always competing there. But outside of working out, it's golf. I have become a little bit obsessed with golf, and, golf is a crazy sport where you are, much like football, you are striving constantly to achieve perfection, full well knowing you will never achieve it. But it's a lot of fun. You and I go out there and we start gambling some money, having a heck of a time, and one of us is going to come out of there feeling pretty bad, and then the rematch will be set
for the next day. Yeah. I feel bad because of the score, not because of the money. You see the nine creep up on the front end of the score, and it just kind of gets you in the gut a little bit, But
I was actually fortunate enough to get a phone call from Zach Potter over the weekend, and he invited me up to Champions Run up in Omaha to play. We went and played yesterday, and I actually played one of my better rounds. And unfortunately, I was playing with a group of guys who were all really, really good. So the money didn't quite work out how I hoped.
I need to see the strokes on the card. If you're going to tell me about a time you hit a 76 and I'm sitting here looking and playing you straight up, I am not going to be comfortable from the first tee to the last. But there's no bad bet in my mind, buddy. I'll take the bets either way.
They were giving me 3 strokes. And Potter shot a 75 and Alex Henry shot a 76.
I don't understand how you big guys can shoot such low scores. Are you using like boat paddles for your golf clubs? I mean, how does that work? Your head's touching the sky and you're trying to hit a ball that's sitting, a half an inch off the ground in the grass.
Well, Zach has been golfing since he was a little kid, and he's got 2-inch extensions in his clubs. Because he's 6'7.5" or whatever he is. So he's a real tall dude. But man, his swing is so nice. But the more impressive thing about his game is his chipping and putting. Man, he just wrecked me.
Oh my gosh! So he's got good hands and power. That's just not fair.
Yeah, I will say I was out driving him all day. I was out driving him all day.
That's great.
And I was playing from the fairway all day where they weren't. But
the golf gods might listen to this podcast, Slauson. So you better be careful what you say. You'll be catching nothing but fescue next week.
He made up for it. I mean, the short game he had was just awesome.
Oh, that's always the most impressive thing to me. Like people that can get around the greens and work them just like that. That takes time and practice. And that's just something I need to get better at. It's just committing more time to it. So instead of a 91, I can hit a 90.
There you go.
Slauson, I can't thank you enough, buddy, for jumping on with us and, supporting Nebraska Greats Foundation and people that receive the benefit from this group truly are thankful. And we appreciate everyone that helps. Hey, man, I'll see you out there. Let's double the bets next time and go Big Red, huh?
That's right. Go Big Red. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks, buddy.
This has been Nebraska Greats, a weekly podcast serving the Nebraska Greats Foundation. You can find each episode on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Play, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Please give generously to serve Nebraska's former sports heroes in need at negreats.org. And be sure to follow the Any Greats on Facebook and Twitter.